Ah, YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I have a special treat for you tonight. I have two Total War greats in one video for you. None other than Felkon, and a great that you all may not know if you're here more recently, but PrussianPrince. And it's in a matchup that will be awesome. This is going to be the two edgiest elves going off against each other. Yes, that's right, it's Elith Anar and Malekith. So we have Nagarythe versus Naggarond, and two great Total War players. I can't wait for y'all to see this one, and we will get ready to jump in the battle. Alright folks, here we are on the battlefield. I gave you the introduction, and let's jump into the units, and the action gets started very, very fast here. We're going to have Shadow Warriors and Shadow Walkers. What's the difference? Shadow Warriors have a long range, and they do decent in melee with no specific bonuses versus infantry or poison, but a solid unit all around, and a slightly higher cost and a slightly lower unit count. You get the Shadow Walkers, which have poison melee attacks, poison missile damage, anti-infantry weapon damage. Very, very capable in melee if you can get them to expend all their ammunition first. You obviously don't want them taking heavy cavalry or infantry charges, but they are situationally quite decent in melee. We have Elith Anar leading the pack here, and he's going to have the Moonbeam, which is a magic missile, the Darken the Skies, which is obviously giving a lot of reload points to those archers just behind him, and that's exactly what he wants. So he will be in pretty good shape. If we look at the infantry for Nagarythe, it's mostly spearmen. Makes sense. As a high elf faction, that's going to be one of their go-tos. He does have some white lions for a little bit of armor-piercing infantry. There are some silver helms as well. This provides a nice solid charge bonus, albeit no specific anti-large or anti-armor capability. They are quite good against lighter units, which of course could be fielded by Naggarond. So we're going to have a Moon Dragon here. So this is kind of a mid-tier dragon, 520 weapon damage and armor piercing. And then the High Mage, which, remember, this is going to be focused on anti-infantry in terms of melee. And then as far as abilities, we've got the Starwood Staff, which is going to give more magic reserves. And then you're going to have the Book of Hoeth, which is going to give a faster recharge rate. There is Soul Quench, Hand of Glory, and Apotheosis. So there's healing, magic missile, and a buff to missile damage. So that's going to be the focus for Elith. No big surprise, focus on missile damage. And the little bit of healing is always just handy. Now for the Dark Elves here, they're going to have a couple of Dark Riders with repeater crossbows. There are a couple of Cold One Knights. These are anti-armor, anti-large cavalry. Monstrous cavalry, I suppose. I guess it just calls them spear cavalry. We've got some Sisters of Slaughter here. There's another on the other flank. And in the middle, there are about 4 units of Bleak Swords, and then, of course, Malekith on his Black Dragon. I believe it's Seraphon, isn't it? Did I get the name wrong? I can't remember the name of his dragon right now. I probably got it wrong. In any case, we've got more Cold One Knights over here, so that's 3 in total, along with the Slaneesh's Harvesters. It's a Doomfire Warlock. Remember, they specialize with magic and poison damage. They are a great support unit against lighter units or ethereal units, and they also come with 2 bound abilities, a minor Doom Bolt, and they also come with the Word of Pain, Soul Stealer and Word of Pain, which is a negative to melee attack. I was thinking of a different unit, or they changed it. I think they used to have the Doom Bolt, and they changed it out. In any case, let's see how this battle plays out. I'm going to try and get you all some sweet cinematic action, because this battle's full of it. Elith Anar opens it up with his Shadow Warriors and Walkers, and they devastate one of the Reaper Bolt Thrower Cavalry. Reaper Bolt Thrower, repeating crossbow cavalry. Now, that would be some interesting cavalry, wouldn't it? Anyway, the Moon Dragon's going to put a breath attack there. Kind of catches the rear of that retreating bit of knights there, so a lot of damage done by Elith Anar early. Definitely a win. The High Mage is going to get right into combat here and try and busy up some of the infantry, and the High Mage can cause tremendous damage here, albeit it's a little bit exposed to Malekith, and Malekith can obviously damage it greatly in return. So we're going to see it running away, but taking massive damage, having to use some healing to stay in there. It got terrified immediately. but that also brought Malekith within range of some of the archers. Now over here we're going to get a cavalry push with the Sisters of Slaughter in support. If this was a Witch Elf, it'd be a very interesting combination indeed. But a Sister of Slaughter is still a unit to be figured. They can cause a lot of damage. Never hurts to support cavalry with infantry. It's something that was more common in older Total War games, and it still happens in this game, albeit sometimes people don't pay enough attention to it. The Bleak Swords aren't going to trade great against the High Elf Spearmen, plus there's Silver Helms supporting, and we get the Slaaneash's Harvesters here too, helping against those Silver Helms. I'm going to get Sisters of Slaughter charging it over here. Now Sisters of Slaughter will do quite well versus any of the infantry units. There's a very nice breast attack off that Moondragon, did a lot of damage to the Slaaneash's Harvesters. We can see Malekith wanting to get in here. Yes, is he fighting? He's twitching, or I don't know what he's doing. He was doing something there. I thought he was going to come in for a fight. Over here, the Silver Helms are engaged with Bleak Swords and Cold One Knights, and then the Sisters of Slaughter are engaged here too. I would think that this fight would eventually sour against the High Elves with the Sisters of Slaughter and Bleak Swords, as well as Cold One Knights in there. But a lot of the infantry fights aren't going very well for the Dark Elves. There's a lot of infantry dying. So far, Nagarythe has done a good job of putting a lot of damage in and containing the superior infantry force in some respects from Naggarond. I say some respects because, like, Sisters of Slaughter, superior for sure to any of the lighter infantry from Nagarythe, but the White Lions obviously superior to the Bleak Swords. Over here, the Moondragon is helping to clean up some of this area. Slaaneash's Harvesters are almost out of the fight, and yet again a brutal breath attack from the Moondragon, and that picks up a bunch of kills and clears up most of this fight. There is a Cold One Knight that's over here in the woods that is forgotten about by Naggarond for now, and these Silver Helms over here should get cleaned up by those Cold Ones. Back here, these Repeater Crossbow Cavalry are having to run away from the Silver Helms. They really don't want any part of that. And then Malekith has decided to come focus on the Shadow Warriors and the Shadow Walkers, right now munching a few Shadow Walkers. Remember, those are poison units. Elithanar is right amongst them, and so he turns his attention to Elithanar, gets a Soul Stealer. There's already been one Soul Stealer. I believe this is the second. And Elithanar is going to take a beating, but however, Malekith's attention back here leaves the infantry fight completely exposed to the Moondragon, and the Moondragon is over here cleaning up the infantry fight. The White Lions have held out for a pretty good time here. You can see over here some spearmen regrouped, and they're being shot by the Repeater Crossbows. Yeah, the infantry fight definitely being assisted by that Moondragon, who now decides to turn his attention on Malekith because the High Mage can come support the White Lions. So you're going to see the infantry fight looking pretty decent for Nagarythe at the moment. Plus, the Sisters of Slaughter were slaughtered by some archers who would indeed be quite good at it. But not before Elithanar is routed by Malekith. The Dark Riders with crossbows are used to get Malekith out of the fight, and that's a really solid call right here because Malekith was in a bad spot. There was archer support, and the Moondragon got the charge. Plus, he was able to finish off Elithanar, which should put a leadership hurt on the High Elves, though it won't immediately send them packing. However, the Dark Riders paid for it with their lives, and more Dark Riders here start to succumb to the archer fire of Nagarythe. Let's check out where Malekith's headed. He does not dive down into the fight with the Moondragon, and somewhat understandably, though it looks like he gets held up here for a moment with a breath attack, which does land and does some pretty decent damage. Holy cow, did it ever. So Malekith cleaned up a whole bunch of infantry there with a nicely placed breath attack. You can see he doesn't really want to engage the Moondragon. He doesn't have the charge, and the Moondragon could fairly well match him at the moment, and there are still a lot of units for Nagarythe left. Right now, Malekith is really the advantage here for Naggarond. Nagarythe has some numbers on their hands, and here where the Moondragon's able to get free, it could terrorize and further rout the units of Naggarond. They will have to be careful of this. You can see here that the White Lions are being driven out. So a nice play by Malekith, but again, look over here, and Nagarythe is cleaning up the battlefield. Well, that's a new word. In case you all were looking for one, which I suppose you were. Check out that Moondragon. Well, he's pretty quick on the ground. Dragons are still very, very quick on the ground. All flying units are. So what little ammunition is left is being expended into Malekith, doing whatever damage they can, and Malekith at a disadvantage to the Moondragon at the moment. But the ammo is running low for the archers. And these regrouped Dark Riders with crossbows now pose a somewhat significant threat here. Plus, there is the unit of Cold One Knights that was forgotten in the forest. If it gets remembered, it could be very clutch. Look at this play by the Moondragon, lands in the infantry, and then turns and gets into the back of Malekith. However, Malekith is going to throw down a Soul Stealer here. And it's pretty important because he was way behind in hit points. And that Soul Stealer will help even the fight a little bit. And I say a little bit, it's not all the way. Got a Hand of Glory here giving extra melee attack to the Moondragon, so he'll be dishing extra damage right now. Or landing more hits, I should say, dishing the same amount of damage. So the Moondragon a little bit overpowered at the moment, but causing massive damage to Malekith, and then at the same time terrorizing out these Dark Riders. Malekith was distracted with the few infantry that were still there, and it cost him big time. But he does land a good attack there on the Moondragon, and there are reinforcements coming in for Nagarythe though, so the Moondragon's going to turn on him, and Malekith is going to get the heck out of town. I believe that is either an Apotheosis or a Hand of Glory. Yeah, Apotheosis. So the Moondragon's going to regain some health, and it's looking pretty rough for Malekith at the moment. Pretty rough indeed. He has got to get off the ground, so he's going to sacrifice these Dark Riders, and Malekith will take to the air and have to flee for his life. It looks like he's able to stay just ahead of the Moondragon. I'm kind of surprised that the charge bonus speed isn't getting there. Now there is a regrouped Cold One Knight here that's going to charge into these grounded units, but because Malekith is running from the Moondragon does have the option to turn around, come back, and KO these riders. That's exactly what he's going to do. Malekith doesn't have a whole lot of choice but to wait this out. But he has remembered his other unit of Cold One Knights, so all of a sudden, this fight gets a lot better for him. A full unit of Cold One Knights won't be too easily taken out by the Moondragon unless it gets terrorized, which it very well could, because now it's being attacked in the back, but they will dish out a ton of armor-piercing damage in a fight where Nagarythe really can't afford it. And now Malekith is interested in coming back towards the fight. He's going to line up a breath attack, and it is going to be a stellar one, landing the foul breath all over the Moondragon, and his hit points have now dropped extremely low. And at this point, the High Mage is also going to be routed from the battlefield. And the tides have turned rather suddenly. This battle was favoring Nagarythe to a pretty fair extent, but the remembrance of these units, getting them back into the battle at an absolute clutch moment, and I think the key there too, keeping Malekith alive. He didn't give up there. But let's see whether the Naggarond player can finish this here. See Malekith on his dragon. The Dark Riders have come back. They can put some volleys into the Moondragon, so things turning further south for Nagarythe here, as the Dark Elf forces really have a pretty stout advantage in the fact that Malekith is a sorcerer, and here comes a Soul Stealer, and this is going to basically clinch it for Naggarond. Plus, the last remaining forces of Nagarythe on the ground are being dealt with, which is going to force the Moondragon to the ground, where the engagement can take place with the Cold One Knights present. So we're going to see that play here by the Cold One Knights, finishing the last Shadow Walkers and Shadow Warriors, who really have no choice but to attempt this fight, though they won't succeed. They will be overpowered, and rather quickly so. So now the Moondragon is forced to land. I like the movement of the cavalry here, whether it was on purpose or not, I don't know, but it kind of spoils the charge of the Moondragon, and then allows all these units to get their charge. And although initially being in a bit of an in a bit of a tough position, Malekith is able to bring it back. You're going to see some nice dueling dragons here. Oof. A power slam by the Moondragon, but it won't be enough to save it. That's going to be the end of the forces of Nagarythe. not able to stand. Epic action, man. I've heard some people say that fantasy has ruined the historical Total War games. I don't think so. I think fantasy Total War games are just awesome. Not to say that I hate historical games, because I don't. Just think they're awesome. So valiant defeat. Man, is it great to see Prussian Prince back in some Total War. Prussian Prince is an awesome guy. I remember doing a lot of content, watching a lot of his content back in the day when he was making a lot of Shogun 2 videos. And, I mean, he just made some great multiplayer battles. He's a great player, and so is Felkon. And so that's why I was super excited. I got in my replay channel and saw this, and I was like, what? Felkon and Prussian Prince? This is like a dream come true. Obviously, there's a bunch of players in Total War that I kind of look up to from a skill standpoint, and these guys are two amongst them. And if you guys want to check out Prussian Prince's channel, I'll link it. He plays a whole bunch of Paradox games still. He played StarCraft back in the day, had a lot of videos on StarCraft, was pretty good there. A lot of old Total War videos that are a lot of fun too. Really a great all-around player and gamer, and always enjoyed having him, like having his content and stuff, so I'm glad to see him on here. Warhammer is such a departure from the old Total War games that Prussian Prince would have been used to. I don't know how much he has played Warhammer. It is a big departure. You have to get used to magic. Flying units break the old molds. The way that mass works in these games with monsters, and then there is a lot more facets to Warhammer. Doesn't mean the old games didn't have their own strategies and facets that were quite challenging, because they were. Especially Shogun 2. It had quite a bit of depth to it because of the way you had to handle the veteran units and stuff. But in any case, this is an interesting one to see Prussian Prince come back. And if he's around, hopefully we'll get a comment or something with him kind of giving us a little insight into how much he's played, what he thinks. I don't know. For all I know, he hates it. But, but I was glad to see him play it nonetheless. So Prussian Prince, hope you are well. And Felkon, thanks for submitting. Awesome to have you guys here on a replay. Hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, get up there, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you'll be notified of new content. Hey, guess what? On the 13th of September, we are having the 250,000 subscriber special. So I will have a day off work. We're going to be making a lot of special content for you all. I hope you're excited for it. I'm going to be streaming for about 6 hours. We'll have a ton of fun getting to play some of the new content off the DLC, as well as a lot of other things. And so keep an eye out that. And of course, Thursday is going to be game night this week because we had to push it back from Tuesday. Keep an eye out for that. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you soon.